Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to show you how to make this little summer cellular blanket. It comes out like little cells in the blanket. It's really nice and light and airy for the summer. Now this size was just one 100-gram ball of yarn. It's got a little bit of stretch to it. The one I've done here is big enough to fit into a stroller or a baby pram, a little car seat cover. So you can make it as big as you like. You can make it as big as you like or as small as you want. You can have it as a little cuddle blanket, or you can use a thicker yarn and make a much bigger one for an adult if you want. Now this is nice and light and airy for this summer. It's really pretty. Now the yarn that I use for this is this ice yarn. Now this is the Magic Light yarn, and when you go on to their you can look on eBay, you can get it on eBay. There's a lot of sellers who bring it into the country and then they'll sell it on eBay if you don't want a whole great big box of yarn and pay all that huge amount of money for shipping. So people do sell it on Amazon and Etsy, or just Google it. There's lots of UK sellers, and even in the USA there's people who bring it into the country and resell it, and you don't have to pay that huge shipping fee on it. Anyway, this one is called Magic Light. It's a weight 3. That's like a double knitting. It's a light double knitting for this. Now the sample, I'm going to use this Hayfield Spirit. This is a really pretty mix of yarns, lovely for the summer as well. It's really pretty. So I'm going to use that for my sample. The stitch count is 2 or an even number. Make it as big as you want. Now if you're going to send me a message and say, how big do I make the blanket? Make it as big as you like. It's stitches in sets of 2. So an even number will work out. Any amount of even number stitches should make this work out. So I'm going to show you how to make this really quick. It's a really quick stitch as well. It's really fast to crochet. It's like a little mini granny stitch almost. It's just a little double cluster. So to do this blanket, we're going to do our stitches in sets of 2. I'm using a UK 4.5mm crochet hook. This is a 4.5. I'm going to do a slip knot. I'm just going to pull my yarn through and just tighten it on to my hook like this. Put your yarn over and pull through that little slip stitch. And we're going to do our stitches in sets of 2 or an even number, and it should work out fine. 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've done my chain. I've done a small chain of 40 stitches. You do your chain as long as you want your blanket to be. So I'm going to do a yarn over, and we're going to go in to the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3 and 4. You're going to do a UK treble crochet. So into that stitch and pull through. Yarn over, to pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now that gives you your first 2 of your cluster. You're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch and put 2 treble crochets into the next stitch for your little cluster. So skip 1 and put 2 treble crochets into the next stitch. Going to chain 1, skip 1 and then put 2 treble crochets into the next stitch. All the way along you'll put those little double clusters, those 2 UK treble crochets into every other stitch. So chain 1, skip 1 and then put your cluster in. And that's what you're going to have, and you're going to do that all the way along to the end. This is really, really simple. So this is my little sample. When you get to the end, you should have one stitch to skip and then put 2 trebles into the last stitch in your chain. Now I'm going to show you my other blanket. The one thing I want you to remember is up the edge you'll have 2 trebles, then 1, then 2, then 1, then 2 and then 1 all the way up the side. That's what staggers these clusters. So just remember that when you've started with your 2 treble crochets, your next row will start with 1 or a chain of 3. So your next row, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. That counts as 1 treble crochet and 1 chain for your space. Turn your work, and what you're going to do is you're going into that space there. Just go into that space and put your 2 treble crochets. So yarn over and do your 2 UK treble crochets. If you're in another country, this is a double crochet for you. Chain 1, remember the chain 1s in between these stitches. Then you're going into the next space, this chain space, and do your 2 treble crochets. 1, 2, chain 1 and move to the next space. So don't go in between the cluster, go in between the space. It's 1 and 2. Chain 1 and move to the next one. Chain 1 and move to the next one. You're going to do that all the way along, and you'll finish with 1 treble crochet into the top of that last treble crochet there. You'll do 1 treble crochet into the top of that stitch. So I've done my last 2 trebles into the space. Now into the top of this last chain here, this last one, I'm going to put a treble crochet. 1 treble crochet into that stitch. Try and catch 2 parts of that stitch. There we go, into that stitch and do 1 treble crochet, and this is what you'll have. You'll start to get these little cells. You'll start to get these little cell spaces in your blanket. So now we need to go back to doing 2. So remember, it's 2, 1 and then 2 treble crochets. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and turn your work. Now right into that very first space down here, you're going to do 1 more treble crochet into that stitch. So up the side you'll always have 2, then 1, then 2, then 1 and 2. You're going to chain 1 and move to the space and carry on all the way along with your chain 1 and 2 treble crochets in the chain spaces. So chain 1 and move to the next one. Put 2 treble crochets. So I've done the last cluster, and I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to go to this single treble, that's the one that's on its own. Now count 1, 2 and 3 stitches. Remember that was made with a chain of 4. So count 1, 2 and 3. Go into that 3rd stitch in that chain of 4 and put 2 treble crochets in there. So we've done our 2, so the next row starts with a 1. So you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now if you want that third stitch, you can put a marker in there. If you want to keep your edges nice and straight, put a marker into that third stitch so you know on the way back, you know which one to go into, that one there. You're going to turn your work, and into that space you're going to put 2 treble crochets. Now that chain of 4 is 1 treble crochet and 1 chain. So put 2 treble crochets into that stitch, into that space, sorry. Chain 1 and move to the next space, and you're going to continue doing that until your blanket is as big as you want. So I'm going to work my way along, and I'll show you once again when we get to that side. I'll show you turning on the edge, because it's important that you have 2, then 1, then 2, then 1 up the sides to keep the pattern staggering like this, to make it like these little cells of work. So I've done my last 2 trebles into that space. I'm going to do my chain 1 and then into the top of that treble crochet on the end I'm going to put 1 treble crochet, because remember you've got 2 then 1 then 2 then 1 all the way up the side, and that keeps it staggered. So what you're going to do now is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this is where we're going to put the 2 in. So we've got that one counts as your first treble crochet, and right into that stitch there you're going to put another treble crochet. So you have 2 right at the beginning. Chain 1, skip to the space and then put your cluster in, and remember and do your chain 1s in between. Chain 1 and move to the next one, and that's what you'll keep repeating, those 2 rows. The rows where you have 2 stitches on the end, and the one where you've got 1 stitch on the end, then 2, then 1, then 2, then 1, and that keeps that pattern staggered like that, and you end up with something like this. It's really pretty, it's really light. Make sure that when you do your foundation chain that you don't do it too tight. You don't want it to curl in like this, so don't do your foundation chain too tight, keep it slack. And down the sides, if you want, into each one you could put one of these little clusters down the side, but the sides of mine's quite straight, so I'm not going to put anything down the side. You can put a little fan, like a little 3 or 5 stitch fan, and then skip one and then do a fan, or do the fan in that little single one, skip the double one and then do a fan down the side if you want. But I'm not putting anything down the side. I like it like this. I like it just as a nice little cellular blanket for a baby pram. So give this a little try. I'm sure you're going to love it. It's super easy. It's really, really easy, and make it as big as you like. So thank you very much for watching. Please click on the subscribe button, and if you click on the bell icon, then YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.